Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. On today's episode of How I Paint, I will be painting Carl Grimes. And I will be painting Carl because, man, I got so hyped after I watched the mid-season finale of The Walking Dead, and it was crazy. There were plot twists and twists and turns and people dying and Negan's people and what's his face, Rick's people. Like, everyone was going crazy. Like, it was pretty great. Like, a lot happened. I will not do any spoilers, so don't you worry about that right now. I'm gonna keep it all lawful and legal. So anyway, I felt like, for a fair majority of the 8 years that Carl's been on this show, that he's kind of been like a meh character to me. Like, I don't know, it was cool seeing him grow up because, he was a real young kid when he started. 8 years, that's a long time. Half his life is on this show. So, I don't know how old he is now, but whatever, he's a young man. So, a fair majority of his life anyway. And, they kind of didn't really give him much story to work from. Just that, I kind of sensed him as like Rick's moral compass, and he at first it seemed like Carl was gonna be a troublemaker, and then he just wanted to kill stuff, and now he kind of grew into a person that was he's almost a pacifist, where he just doesn't want to hurt people anymore. And I guess it makes sense. They've been through so much as a group. So, if you haven't watched it, I think you should go back and watch them, because it's totally worth it. The twists and turns or whatever, it gets a little slow here and there, but, I think all in all, it's worth it. So with all that said, that is the basis of my creative inspiration today. So let's get started. So in the beginning, I decided to attack this painting from a different perspective from my previous paintings, in that I didn't draw the character's silhouette the same way I did it like the Punisher, and I wanted to try to push myself, because there's you can do it. It's like giving yourself a skeleton to work from, but I really want to get this painter thing down. I really want to push myself in that direction. So I challenged myself to create the shapes, to create the figure with just values, just light and shadow, and it was a little tough, I'll tell you right now. So first challenge I was met with was the composition. So I blocked in, you'll see, I blocked in the silhouette of the character, and of course it was too big. I initially was going to make it zoomed in so that I could really start finessing the details of the face and really get you, like, pull you into that. But then I thought maybe the moodiness of the composition as a whole would be lost if I did that. So I decided to zoom out just a little bit, kind of split the difference between being all up in your face so you can see like the pores or to zoom out and get a little bit more of a feel and overall, because this episode is kind of serious. It's a very the poop hits the fan, like, in a big way. So I went for the silhouette action, and you'll see in my color palette I only use two colors. I used a mid-tone gray, and I used black. And to get my value variation is all pen pressure. So if I had to go lighter, I was pressing harder or pressing less on my pen. If for those of you that haven't watched the previous ones, I'm using an Intuos Pro tablet. I do not have a Cintiq, so I have, 2,000 levels, 2,000 something levels of pen pressure or whatever. Like, if you're a technophile, then that would mean something. But if not, and you're just like, huh, like I am. I'm kind of like, what? Then it just means that it's very, very sensitive to, your pen pressure. And I think for this technique, it really matters. So I noticed that when I was working with, let's say, a bamboo tablet, it didn't have the same pen pressure sensitivity that the Intuos Pro does. So it didn't give me the same results in terms of the value range in this technique of pen pressure. So just keep that in mind if you do use a bamboo tablet or one of the the more affordable. I mean, this one is pretty affordable by comparison to the Cintiq, but considering the bamboo is only like 80 bucks now, maybe 100 max. The Intuos Pro is something like 350. But whatever. All that aside, I went for the pen pressure technique because I liked it. It was more feel based, so I was getting in the moody feel. I was like, oh yes, it's The Walking Dead. So anyway, my general technique for this was building the values from light to dark. Of course, I'm not the greatest at that, so I came in with the midtones, and then I made it darker again, or I'd come in with another wash of a lighter color. And the challenge with dealing with pen pressure is that you see all of the other layers underneath it as you're doing it, and it doesn't give you the smoothest look up front. Now, okay, maybe that was the point, and for me as an artist, I think I like that rough look sometimes. I mean, not everyone does. It's not everyone's preference. Sometimes people like a softer transition, in values, and there's less of the stepping that you see in my paintings. And I mean, I might come around to doing that at some point. But I mean, there's something for me as an artist. I've always liked that sketchy look, that kind of unfinished but polished, and you can see the craftsmanship in the work, and that to me intrinsically has more value than looking at something polished and wondering how the hell that person did it. That's always been something for me, because like I've spent so much time reverse engineering or trying to understand other artists' way of doing things, that when artwork, I find that when artwork is too polished, I can't see it, and I wonder, and that's a good thing. That's good on them. They've come to that level of perfection that's just like staggering. You can't figure it out. How'd you do that? And I mean, that's goals for me. I really want to get to that level. So, I mean, but this is where I'm at. And right now, I appreciate that rough, really like throw it down there and get the impression. I guess you can call it. It's impressionist. So, it's a semi-real impressionist sensibility. And for now, that appeals to me. So, I mean, I hope you guys like it too. But in any event, I mean, this is how I'm doing that technique, where I do it in light opacities, soft touch. And you'll see that, at some point I made the face was really wonky, like the eye was too close to the nose, or I was really worried about capturing his exact features, and I don't know if I did that the best, but I did the best that I could. I mean, ultimately, I think that's all I could do, So when I did his face, anytime I'm doing portraits of actual known people, I always find that it's very difficult, or it's that the nuances of a person's face can change their look completely. So if you make the angle of their face wrong, or the tilt of the nose is off by 1 degree, or the highlight is in the wrong place, or there's a shadow that shouldn't be there, or or you miss it, it completely alters the look of the face. So being being hyper real is a very difficult beast, in my opinion. So doing likeness portraiture is tough. So I struggled with that a little bit with his face. So I had to erase his eyeball. I mean, initially I thought, man, I might have to erase his whole face because it just didn't look right. Like the nose was too big to the eye, or I don't know what happened. And then I realized, well, shoot, maybe I can fix it by just erasing the eyeball and then going back in and trying to recraft it. And that actually ended up working out okay. So that's what I did. I had a college professor one time tell me, you have to kill the baby. And I was like, what the hell? I looked at him sideways. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, kill the baby? He was like, yeah, you gotta kill the baby. And I'm like, okay, I think I understand. And he explained it in that when you craft something and you're just like, you're so in love with it, you fall in love with that moment where, like, oh, it looks great. You don't want to change it. You know it's wrong, but you don't want to change it. So it becomes your baby. So it's a little bit twisted. It's a little bit dark, maybe a little macabre right there. But yeah, you have to kill the baby and build it fresh. And so that's what I did. I wiped out the eyeball and it came back in. And ultimately, I think it turned out okay. I really tried my best to create what I started initially with that mid-tone gray and the black, so that I didn't get too light too fast, because I felt like this particular piece was very moody and it needed that darkness. So I didn't, unlike Punisher where I got really bright, I started with the white and the black rather than this mid-tone gray. I felt like this was going to be a darker piece, or at least one half of his face would be this mid-tone gray, and then I'd come in with that really bright wash of white over his shoulder to create that cast light from the upper right. And ultimately, I think it came out okay. I was happy with how it turned out. I'm pretty new to doing this kind of stuff, and I mean, especially doing anything with backgrounds. Like, the backgrounds have been like an Achilles heel for me for a long time. I was like, oh my god, I can't do scenery. So I try to push a little bit of that back there too, in a very sloppy way. I didn't get all of the lines. There's like these vertical lines in the background. I didn't line them up perfectly with a ruler or used a shift to constrain the proportions so that it stays in a straight line. I just sloppily just did these line strokes back there, so you get like the impression that there's something back there. And I think that also is something to consider when you're doing these paintings or whatever, or if you're doing your own drawings or what have you. Sometimes just getting the essence of something out, and you kind of get the feeling for it, is enough. You don't have to like literally do each and every little thing, because not everything has to be rendered that way. I found the hair to be especially fun on this, because the little wispies, these little flyaways were fun to add in after all the big blocks were done. So I mean, I think all in all, this came out okay. I think that it was really fun, and afterwards, after I finished it, I initially started this in Clip Paint Studio using the marker tool, and I created these three preset. They're not preset, I made them, but I created 3 brush types. There's a flat horizontal brush, there's a left angle and a right angle, and that's just so that I can easily work different planes. I found that I needed one going straight up and down. I don't have that one. I probably have to create that one, later on. Because, when I was doing the bars, it would have come in handy if I had that straight up and down one. You don't always run into situations like that, but it would have helped if I had it. So, aside from all of that, I think once I finished this in Clip Studio Paint, I felt like, damn, I needed to punch up some of the brightness across his shoulder, and I didn't want to have to repaint it. So I saved it, and then I took it into Photoshop, and then I used the burn. Is the burn tool? No, it's not the burn tool. It's the dodge tool. The burn and the dodge are on the same tool square. When you click and hold it, you'll get to choose either the thing that looks like a little lollipop, or it looks like a hand. I don't know why it's a hand. Maybe it goes back to like old traditional photography where you had to use your hand to block the light from exposing the paper. I mean, that's like taking it back to old develop it yourself days. So in any event, I came in with the dodge tool, and I brightened up some of the brights over the shoulder to give it that punch. And then I was done. I probably could have taken it a little bit further to give it, tighter details. But like I said, I think I was going for that impressionist kind of rough feel. That makes me happy. And I think that ultimately that's what it's about, making you happy, right? So that's the gist of it, guys. So like, if you guys have any questions, or if you have any suggestions, or if you think that what I'm doing is stupid and you want to throw your opinion out there, I'll be happy to listen. Or if you need any help in any way, I'll be happy to help. My knowledge is your knowledge. Anything I can do to help, I'm more than willing. All right. So please, if you like it, please like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and I will do my best to have another one up next week, probably Wednesday or Friday or both. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.